What's up, football family? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Show. I'm your host, PL Culture. All right, it's week 2, everybody. Hope everybody got off to a great start last week. If you didn't, it's all right. Stick with your boy. I'll get you into those fantasy football playoffs. All right, now it's week 2, and this week we're going to talk about waiver wire pickups. Now, these are going to be guys who stepped out, maybe not. Didn't make it to your draft. Maybe you didn't get them, and they're sitting out on your free agent board, and they shouldn't be. You need to get them on your team and stash them, or maybe play them. All right? So let's get started. Now, I'm going to just say this just to state the obvious and get it out the way. Mr. Cam Newton, quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. Now, if Cam Newton is still on your waiver wire after a 422-yard, 3-touchdown debut last week, then I need to be in your fantasy football league because I think I've run roughshod over it. And so would every viewer that's watching this. So now that we got Cam out the way, let's get a little deeper into this. Now, if you're needing you some players or somebody to add some depth to your running back or wide receiver position, you may want to start looking at Jordy Nelson, wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers. Now, if you watched last year's Super Bowl, you remember he had a breakout performance, and he followed it up with a solid week 1. He had 6 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown, and really should have had another one. Now, he plays in a high-octane offense, and with the return of the all-world tight end, Jermichael Finley, it really frees up Nelson on the other side in the slot, and he does get a lot of looks from Aaron Rodgers. This week's opponent, the Carolina Panthers defense, they gave up over 300 yards last week to Kevin Kolb. This week is Aaron Rodgers. I like his chances. Even if you don't start him this week, stash him on your bench. I think he's going to have a solid season, and he'll definitely be somebody that you can plug in for bye weeks or for matchup purposes. Next, we have Mr. Darren Sproles, the all-utility back for the New Orleans Saints. We remember he did come over from San Diego last year, and he's pretty much a healthier version of Reggie Bush. He runs, he's proficient in the passing game, and he returns kicks and punts. So if you're in a points per reception league or in a league that has return yards, forget putting them stashing them on your bench. You want to get this guy into your starting lineup. Check out the stat from last week. 7 catches for 75 yards and 168 total return yards. That's somebody that you're plugging into your flex position. Get him into your lineup. He should be fantasy football gold. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to go out on a limb to say if he stays healthy and that defense continues to give up points like they did against Green Bay, he may even be a fantasy football sleeper stud by the end of the year. Now, this season on the Fantasy Football Show, we're going to do what we call the viewer pick of the week. And this viewer pick comes from Rodrigo Alcaraz, fantasy football team name I Just Wit in My Pants. I'm guessing he's a Dallas Cowboy fan, but I digress. Now, Rodrigo says you should definitely pick up Detroit's defense. Now, I know that in the past when you're going through your waiver wire, you're scrolling and you see the lines, and you just keep scrolling because they've been mired in mediocrity since you and I were little kids. Well, these are not your father's lines, and this is not your father's lines defense. The front four is ferocious. The linebackers are aggressive. The cornerbacks are solid. And Jim Schwartz, the head coach, was actually the defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans back when they used to win. A long, long time ago. That's pretty much when they were at their height, going to the Super Bowl, going to the playoffs, sending multiple defensive players to the Pro Bowl. So he knows how to get the most out of his defense. His defense is nasty. His defense is aggressive. The same thing they said about the Titans back in the late 90s, the early 2000s when he was there. And he doesn't even have his number 1 pick, Nick Fairley, the defensive tackle, on the field yet. So as this team continues to grow and mature, they're going to get better and better. They're definitely a team that you can play on a matchup basis. And who knows, depending on who you have as a starter right now, they may be your every week play. So good job by you, Rodrigo. Shouts out. Now we move on to our weekly homer alert. Now, if this is your first time watching the show, shame on you. Just kidding. But anyway, if this is your first time watching the show, the homer alert or the homer player is that player that's either from your favorite team or someone that you drafted in the first 3 or 4 rounds that you play week in and week out regardless of the matchup. Just because you know who he is, what his name value is, even if it's not the best matchup on your team. So this week's home alert and it certainly pains me to say this as a diehard Titans fan, has to go to my man Chris Johnson from the Tennessee Titans. Now, we all know that Chris Johnson held out this past offseason and did not get any work in the preseason, came in just about a week before the regular season opener against Jacksonville, and it showed. He only managed 24 yards, and it was 24 ugly yards at that. He was just getting stuff behind the line of scrimmage, didn't have his explosiveness, looked like he was a little bit scared to get injured. Also, there was no cohesiveness between him and the offensive line, and the biggest thing is this is the first game that he played without his fullback, Ahmad Hall, who happens to be serving a 4-game suspension for substance abuse. So, yeah. No wonder why he's so strong, but I digress. So Chris Johnson will definitely be a guy going forward that will more than likely be a stud. He'll more than likely finish in the top 5 in rushing again this year and give you plenty of fantasy football success. This week, though, if you have another running back of lesser name value that may be sitting on your bench, maybe even a Darren Sproles, you definitely want to put him in the lineup over Chris Johnson this week because Chris Johnson is facing the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the same Baltimore Ravens team that made the Pittsburgh Steelers last week look like the Tennessee Titans. Much love to Cashville. But they were dominant on defense. They forced 7 turnovers and only gave up 7 points. That's a pretty good ratio. They also held the bruising running back Rashard Mendenhall to just 45 yards rushing. So this may not be the best opportunity for Chris Johnson to get off the schneid. He's still running a little tentative, and you know the Ravens' plan will be to stack the box and to force Matt Hasselbeck to beat them through the air, which is not a good recipe for the Titans to win or for Chris Johnson to help you win. So this concludes Week 2 episode of the Fantasy Football Show. In closing, we always like to tell you that life is a sport, so always play to win. Again, a shout out to Rodrigo for contributing to the show. Much love. And Mom, I want to wish you a happy get well soon, and we're thinking about you and praying about you, all right? This is your boy PL. I'm out. God bless.